Okay, yeah, that's actually recording this time. Oh, this is going better already. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Podtoid 155.
That's right.
Five,
you did it.
5. Uh-huh. See, I did it right, and then I fucked up, and then I did it right again. We're off to a splendid start. You'll notice it's a bit later than usual, as people remind me constantly on Twitter. Thank you for your support, but I explained why it was late already. Don't keep annoying me, you bastards. I'm joking, but no, it messed up. I don't know why. I'm blaming myself because I was the one who was supposed to be recording it, so there's literally no one else to blame. But I'm going to be the big man and take responsibility for something that was definitely my fault. It was actually an excellent episode. Me and Jonathan Holmes, who is here with us.
Hi.
And Tara and Max, who aren't with us because they've actually got lives and could only really dedicate that time that I wasted. We had an excellent episode. We talked about how birds that eat fruit are more evolved than other birds because they got something tastier than worms and seeds.
Oh yeah, and then there was that shark with wings idea that freaked Tara out. She was all pissed.
Yeah, Max sort of joined in talking about fruit, and then we talked about sharks that could fly, and we invented the flying fruit shark, which was, exactly what it sounds like, shark that can fly and eat fruit. And for some reason Tara hated that, because she was like, oh, it's going to attack me, but we were like, well, it eats fruit, so, unless you're high in vitamin C, you've got nothing to worry about.
Vitamin, yeah.
Vitamins. We did a film pitch for Willem Dafoe, but I'm not going to mention them until we get Max in, because he had an excellent idea that made me laugh so hard that I kind of broke. The
remainder of the podcast was like people who had a partial lobotomy because our brains had lost oxygen because we were laughing so hard at Max's idea. And I expected it to be funny because Max is like, pretty much a professional comedian in my mind, but he nailed it. He knows his audience now, and I think he's going to be cracking us up pretty much every episode now. He's got it.
Absolutely. I mean, the guy's fantastic. I was worried at first, because I'm like, Max and Tara, they do their thing on the Destructoid show. They're sleek, cool characters. Don't know how they're going to work with myself, doing sort of weird, random, the kind of bullshit that I talk about.
And Max had never been on a podcast before. The Podtoid, I think it's 150. Wasn't that our first one?
It was 148 or 49.
Oh, you're right. Wow, we've been doing a lot of these already. But yeah, that was his first podcast ever, but he just nailed it immediately.
Yeah, the guy, and Tara as well, like the unscripted as well. These guys, there's a different vibe to them when they're sort of versus the studio versions of them, which do obviously a very different thing, and what they do on Podtoid. Both of them work really well for their particular environments. I was worried that they had one setting, and they've got two settings, and they've done very well. But fuck them, they're not here, cunt. So, forget about them. They don't exist. But yeah, this is Podtoid 155 now. It's not gonna be as good as the excellent one that we don't have. But Jonathan's here, I'm here, we're going to talk just a little bit of a laid-back thing, just to give you guys something, because you guys like Podtoid, and that's really nice, thank you. I
feel so much better now. Yeah, they do like us, I think. Yeah.
Well, 10,000 of the stupid bastards download us every week.
That's so many people.
That's too many people, really. For the drivel that we give them, it's too many people, but bless them.
Yeah, you're blessed if you listen to this.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Blessed in the head. Right. So, talking about blessed in the head, you played, which you didn't when we recorded last time, so we can actually have a dialogue about it now, but you played Shadows of the Damned.
Yeah, I haven't been doing much else, and I feel guilty about it, but I plan on playing it for like 10 minutes, and then 3 hours later, it's so hard to put down the game, because it's so filled with surprises. You think you get a sense of what they're going for, and then they flip it on you. I just beat the 3rd chapter, so I bought the fuck you! I was like, really? The first couple of fuck yous, you think you've heard them all, and then it just goes on like that. And then the chapter after that, it's like a neon porn level. And I haven't gotten very far into it, but I couldn't believe that they went from like a dark Evil Dead setting to like just asses and neon signs and huge like boner jokes.
Yeah, well, I mean, they just had a straight up Evil Dead level.
Right.
It was just the Evil Dead.
I think they even quoted it a few times.
I think the actual chapter is called something like this. It's got evil and dead in it.
It's as evil as dead.
There you go. Yeah. And the whole thing is designed as a big homage to Evil Dead, and it works quite well. And then, of course, as you say, you go into they go into the demonic red light district, and the little skull guy called Johnson listens to a sax line, and within literally seconds, he's just going, "Oh, swing, swing, swing!"
I wish everyone that was horny just started going, "Oh, it feels good. Oh, I like the way my body tingles. I'm aroused." It would be so much better than like the quiet stares you get from horny guys. That I get from horny guys. Anyway. Makes me uncomfortable. And what was I? Oh, I was going to say that. Or prior to that, it was like suddenly really serious with a guy talking about how his wife got skinned alive and he was out for revenge, and it was like not comedic at all. I'd say so far it goes from action, horror, comedy, suspense to drama, like at the drop of a hat. The fact that it was all written just by Suda51, I guess. The fact that he's that versatile in one script is really pretty mind-blowing.
I mean, that said, you say it goes to a serious moment, but I do believe that in that so-called serious scene, the character goes, "You don't want to get in my way, I'm hard." And then Spencer's like, "Oh, penis, oh."
That's true, but then after that, they read a newspaper clipping saying like a woman was, and up until this point, all the newspaper clippings are not, I'm sorry, they're usually just posters on the wall for like a demonic opera or a demonic like massage or something like that. It's put where those posters normally are, but instead it's a newspaper clipping saying like a woman was skinned alive and her husband found her and he was like, had a nervous breakdown, and there's no joke. And Johnson's just like, "Holy shit, that sucks."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Whoa." And then shortly after that, his head is rolling around on the ground, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. I mean, it is definitely a game of surprises, to say the least.
I love that. For that alone, I can look past. I mean, like you said in the review, there are a few game-breaking glitches. I'm playing the PS3 version, and I actually haven't seen any screen tearing, which is a relief. But sometimes you like try to kick down one of those fragile wooden doors, and it doesn't explode. But you still have to go through it, but it's still there, and you can't break it because the game thinks it broke it. So you're right about the bug testing, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it comes across like no one bothered to quality test the thing, which is a real shame because it did do a disservice to what was otherwise just an excellent game. It's so entertaining, and it is up there with Deadly Premonition in that sort of, not so much a horror, like survival horror, but more like a survival comedy, where it's like, okay, there's horror elements, but the focus is purely on player enjoyment and making people laugh. Even if they do delve to incredibly juvenile lows to get those laughs, they are still delivered with this sense of fun and silliness and just, okay, yeah, we're making big dick jokes.
But then kind of knowing about it. Yeah. Like there was that one where you're breaking all these like slightly penis-shaped things. And Johnson's like, "Oh, those are a bit phallic, don't you think?" And Garcia's like, "You want to talk? Like, I'm sick of these dick jokes."
Yeah.
he's almost aware of them. Yeah, just really, I usually don't care that much about writing in games, but the script alone has really kept me captivated. And the gameplay, really surprised by how many risks they took. It's like Metroid Prime 2 meets Resident Evil meets a little bit of Gears of War in there. It's pretty impressive.
I mean, it's definitely the most standard game that Grasshopper's ever done, in terms of gameplay.
Yeah.
It's one of the most accessible, and I think a lot of that is Mikami's influence. But it's almost as if because of the restrictions in the gameplay, they had to make up for it in the writing and the dialogue and the characters. So they just went overboard. So it's both the weirdest and the sanest game that Grasshopper has ever done. And that's quite impressive. And I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, well, why did you say that all the juvenile silly humour in Shadows of the Damned was okay, but you didn't think it was okay in Duke Nukem Forever. Quick answer, it was fucking funny in Shadows of the Damned, and it was fucking pathetic in Duke Nukem Forever. Just because I didn't like the juvenile jokes in one game doesn't mean I dislike the juvenile jokes in another. I love juvenile humour. Listen to Podtoid every week and you'll soon see. But there's a way of doing it, and Duke Nukem Forever, as I've explained multiple times over the past few weeks, did it it didn't even try. It thought that, torture of women and humiliation of women and saying the word fag in and of itself is funny. Whereas it's actually more the context in which these things are presented that makes them funny. And the context in which... I didn't even like a lot of the penis jokes in Shadows of the Damned. There was a lot... I preferred a lot more of the dark humour they had going. And some of the actual spoofs they had going on. That I found funny. The actual, once you've heard Garcia Hartsberg going, taste of my hot boner!
I was just thinking about I could have used less of that. But at the same time, they seem so... There's a weird innocence to Shadows of the Damned. For me, I can put up with some bad jokes from a friend who I really like as a person. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they charmed me so much with, the genuine relationship between... Garcia Hotspur, an angry, tattooed, covered, leather jacket man and a talking skull with a British accent who can turn into a motorcycle. They seem like truly best friends in almost like an Adventure Time sort of way. While I was playing it, I was like, this is kind of Adventure Time for horror. It's kind of a send-up and a tribute with just, these two central characters who are so nonchalant about what doesn't happen in that game so far? The goat eating a horse? Isn't that what happens? Yeah.
I love describing this boss. It is a humanoid goat demon that rides around on a horse that poops darkness. Then the horse dies, and the goat eats the horse's heart and grows to the size of a 10-story building, then eats the rest of the horse, and then pisses darkness into a big fountain. That's the first boss. That's the first proper boss fight as well. That needs pointing out.
And when you describe it, I read the review and you also described it to me verbally. I was like, oh, maybe he kind of spoiled it for me. But it's you can't spoil watching someone give birth either. You can tell someone, and then a baby's going to come out of this hole that's near the butthole, but it's a little closer to the front. Oh, wow, that sounds really weird. But then you actually see it, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
I'm really seeing this. Yeah. When I actually saw it, it still blew my mind.
At first, I was worried that I was revealing too... Because it's hard to describe that game and let people know how weird it is without giving away a lot.
Sure.
And I was worried about that in the review and discussing it to yourself and others verbally, but nothing really prepares your brain for the concepts that Shadows of the Damned forces you to accept. And you just have to watch just this endless parade of weirdness, and by the end of it you're just shrugging and going, yeah, why not? Why not?
I can't wait to see. Yeah. I think the last thing I did was I tried to actually run on top of a giant nipple, but it wouldn't let me. There was an invisible wall. I was like, damn it. But I was totally used to it at that point. I didn't even really appreciate it till now that, I was nipple jogging.
Yeah. It's why wouldn't I jump through that vagina? Why not? It would be weird if I didn't at this point. And I think that's its real strength is... By the end of it, weirdness is almost banal.
Yeah. That's how I feel about a lot of my favorite things. A lot of Suda's more successful games in the past were like that too.
It's a really good game. It's a good game.
I hope it does well.
I hope so. He deserves it. For fuck's sake, the guy's been working for so long now, and he's done these excellent cult hits, but they never seem to do all that well. And Shadows of the Damned, I think, is ripe for a second one.
Yeah,
especially, you tighten up the camera angles and the gameplay, and you get rid of all those bugs. You've got Shadows of the Damned 2 right there. I don't think that story's done. I definitely want to see more, because you don't get a hero like Garcia, apart from the fact that, he's a Latin character, which you just don't get in He's also just got this awesome cheesiness to him that works really well, and this relationship with this neurotic English-talking skull, which, again, you just don't see it, and I think he's got real potential as a great video game protagonist.
Yeah, I hope so. You know, because No More Heroes only sold, I think, 500,000 globally. Yeah. And yet they were psyched. They were like, awesome, let's make a sequel. Let's try to remake it on the PS3. Like, that was a huge success for them. So I hope they have a similar standard for Shadows of the Damned. Because I'd expect it could at least sell 500,000 with all the positive press it's getting and good reviews. I hope that's enough for a sequel.
It should do. I mean, Game Informer gave the thing a 9.2 or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
I so would not have expected that from Game Informer. It's
they gave No More Heroes a 6, I think.
Ugh.
Yeah, well, it was a different reviewer probably, but still.
Yeah. But it's like, I like Game Informer, and I was hoping, I hope everyone has nice things to say about it, but I wasn't expecting that level of praise, especially above myself, because I was obviously a little bit more critical about the glitches and the graphical problems.
Sure.
So I was surprised, not unpleasantly so, definitely thrilled to see it in a mainstream publication like that. Everyone who goes to shops at GameStop has a good chance of being subscribed to Game Informer. So I was, I really hope it does well. I mean, it's releasing alongside Fear 3, which, has TV ads and all that jazz, but is a total letdown, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, I haven't read your review yet. Yeah. Did that just go up?
It went up today. I called it the best Fear game ever made, and also the worst.
Whoa.
It was a really conflicting one, because the actual gameplay is fucking amazing, but there's so little of it, in the campaign at least, because the campaign's about, being generous, I'd say 5 hours long.
Really?
Because they focus so much on the multiplayer. The only problem is multiplayer's fucked. When I can get into a game, it's pretty damn good. But the matchmaking is so broken. For instance, I can't do quick match. I can't select quick match. Because if I do, it gets stuck in this perpetual loading animation, and there's no backing out. You can't press B to escape it. The only way to get out of it is to go all the way to, quit the game to my Xbox 360 dashboard and go back in. And that's ridiculous. I mean, that's not even counting the fact that, if you get an unable to join game in a game lobby, you're just booted out of multiplayer entirely. You're booted back into the main menu. And half the multiplayer is hidden thanks to their online fucking passcode, which won't download the content unless you're out of the game. I had to quit Fear 3 and sit in my Xbox dashboard to let it download. I guess because Fear 3 instantly connects to Xbox Live once you're there. And Xbox Live connections stop downloads. So it's just this... I can't... I'm so disgusted that a series that has been known for really good narrative campaigns basically cut the campaign short to focus so intensely on multiplayer, and they couldn't even fucking do it right. And I'm just so disappointed. I have never before seen such a fantastic game, because it is great fun, but I've never before seen such a fantastic game presented in just the worst way possible.
Wow, that sucks. With how competitive things are these days, you can't get away with that. People are not gonna bother with all of those hoops to jump through when they could just boot up Black Ops or one of the many other multi-million selling multiplayer games out there.
And that's the worst part, because they really did compete on a AAA level this time. It's like the gameplay, they took some of the best from Call of Duty and Killzone and all these top-range shooters, but dipped it in this horror element and this really macabre atmosphere, and added in this ghostly co-op partner who can make people's heads explode.
Wow, is that what the co-op's like?
Yeah, and it's really quite cool. And the quality is unlike anything else in the Fear series. It is the best Fear game ever made, but thanks to the shoddy netcode and the fact that they cut the campaign to make up for it, it's the worst one as well, and I'm very sad about that.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That suddenly makes me want to talk about... We don't have to talk about it if you don't want, but I've when I read the comments in something you write, I hope I'm not too biased, but I get so mad at people sometimes. It's hard to make me mad, but how they don't get that when you review something, you're telling people how you felt while you were playing it, then you assign a score based on how much fun you had with the game.
Yeah,
that's so simple, right? That's what I'm doing that right, boss? You're the reviews editor. That's how I should do it. That's how I've been doing it.
That's exactly how I designed the first review guide I wrote back in, like, what was it, 2008? And it's certainly what I tried to continue with the one we did for 2011. Yeah, I think, because Lee Alexander actually recently wrote an article about myself and my reviews, and the persona that I apparently adopt when I write reviews, and asks me to not contribute to Metacritic anymore, because I make reviews
She wrote that?
look bad. And, all due respect. Well, all due respect to Lee, it's like, we disagree a lot, but, she's a fine writer, and I respect sort of what she does within the industry. And, yeah, it was just, I was looking at it, and I was also talking to Russ Pitts at The Escapist, who was like, well, I guess that's the problem with sort of the persona you have. And I was like, the trouble is it's not a persona. I think the issue comes from the fact I don't adopt a persona, because when some people write reviews, they adopt a very serious, dry, I am a reviewer persona. Whereas I just write from the heart. I'm just like, if I think a game fucking sucks, I'm just like, this game fucking sucked.
And you don't, I mean, I know a little bit about your workflow because we communicate a lot. It's not like you sit around for a week thinking like, what kind of jokes can I come up with? What kind of persona? You don't have time for that. You finish a game, you're like, okay, got an hour to review it, and an hour later the review's done.
That shit gets done. If you follow my Twitter feed, you'll see the amount of times I'm like, fuck, I just beat this game. Can I do this in an hour? Yeah. And I'll do it in an hour. And I will write just stream of consciousness, and that's how I've always written. And I think that rubs people the wrong way, because I don't scale it back or censor myself or adopt any professional airs and graces, which I think is an actual, I think that's the persona. When people write, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you take very straight-laced, very dry attitude, that's cool. A lot of people like that. There's an audience for it. Do it, but I don't do that. I think if you listen to Podtoid and you read my writing, there's little difference between them.
Yeah, that's right.
I think the only difference is I don't go and stutter when I write, as opposed to when I'm podcasting or whatever, and I'm trying to just remember shit to say. I have to remember how to say my doing words good, proper. That's right. The only difference, I think. And my wife and anyone who's unfortunate enough to hang out with me will attest that I am very similar to my quote-unquote persona on Destruction and anything else I write.
And Lay, is it Lee or Lay? I never know how to say.
It's Lee.
It's Lee then, with the I-G-H? It's so confusing. She should change her name, because it's confusing to me.
I will withdraw from Metacritic, as Lee asks, if she changes her name to, like, Bob.
Because I can pronounce that. Well, she can't deal with you existing, so she wants you to just stop. I
don't want to put sort of any extra implications in.
You're not saying that, but as someone on the outside looking in, that's how it sounds to me. And it's similar. We had some people who are actually fans of our work, at least that's what they said in the comments, but not a fan of our reviews, because they wanted us to, instead of put our reviews on the front page and have them be Destructoid reviews, they wanted it to be like Jonathan Holmes' opinion about video games, not official. As if my opinion is somehow... Yeah, you know what I mean about that?
I literally do not understand it. I literally do not.
I've got my head around it right now. I think that they think there's like some universal truth that I can tap into, that I could like play a video game and know whether everyone would like it or not, like ever. And that's only what I should write about, is what everyone else would like and not what I like?
I think that's it. I think people want everything to be one thing. Like, everything to be this grey soup. And you see that in, like, schools. You go to a fucking sports game in a school, and the teams are encouraged to not score like too many more goals or tries or whatever than the other team, so that they're not showing off and being mean, and everyone plays fair. And you get that, like, fucking schools where everyone's a winner. And there are no losers, there are just second winners. You know, that kind of shit. That kind of bullshit that they teach kids these days. And I think that's bled over into a lot of things now, where people, they don't like these extreme, distant, different ideas and ways of thinking. And I think that's what it is. I think people are scared of a strong opinion. No, not everyone, but, you know, certain...
Yeah, the people who are so outspoken about it, they would make a strong opinion about how we should not voice opinions.
Yeah.
Not ironic,
The kind of people that I think they're scared of having things labelled reviews, because for some reason I think they think that makes... That makes something some written-in-stone commandment, like it's been inscribed on a tablet by Moses once we put the word review on it. And
it's like they don't know how to use the review. Like, the way you use a review is, like, for instance, I liked the Scott Pilgrim movie that came out last year. I read a review of the Scott Pilgrim movie by a critic saying, well, I hated everyone in the audience. They all looked like video game fans, and I hate people who play video games. So annoying. And then there was a bunch of video game references that weren't funny because they were related to video games, and I hate everything that has to do with video games. And then there were some jokes. They were okay. And then I walked out because it sucked so bad. This is a professional review. We gave it 1 star. I was like, awesome. I should go see that movie. I am the person that he hates that's in the audience, and those jokes were probably for me. So I went and checked it out. As long as he backed up his opinion, even though it was kind of a non-review, he reviewed the audience more than he did the movie. But still, it was enough for me to use that opinion to formulate my own opinion about what I would think of that movie. So I went and saw it, and I really liked it. And likewise, if someone reads one of your reviews and you're like, stupid jokes that I didn't like, gameplay was boring, if they're like, oh, well, I like that kind of gameplay, they can then... Like, they don't, I feel like they read our reviews and they think they either have to agree with us and then it's a good review, or they have to disagree with us and therefore the review is bad.
Yeah.
But a review is good as long as it's an accurate representation of what your opinion is and you back up your opinion.
Yeah,
right?
and I think a few people... Don't call me boss, that's awful. A few people have gotten that. I get people telling me... I mean, they say it with an air of smugness, like it's going to annoy me. Like, they'll say, oh, well, Jim hated this game, so I'm going to love it. I buy... Any game that Jim says is bad, I buy. And I'm like, knock yourself out. And it doesn't... It's like when Thick Quang Duck said that he was going to set himself on fire in protest of... I forget which country he was in, but they were doing all terrible things. And he protested by setting himself on fire, and it's like, well, I ain't going to stop then. Ricky Gervais did a whole bit on it. It was like, you're going to set yourself alight and fill your boots. But, you know, seeing people buy shit games doesn't upset me. But the fact they're using my reviews anyway to help inform their purchases, whether they're doing the opposite of what I say or doing what I suggest, it's like, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That's your job.
Yeah, and no one review should be taken as gospel. I view all reviews, and this is why I like Metacritic. I'm actually doing a Jimquisition on this for Monday. I like Metacritic despite a lot of people taking a fuck Metacritic attitude. It's like, it's not Metacritic's fault that Metacritic is abused. That's a whole bunch of other people. But, I forgot what I was going to say because I just got an email.
You like Metacritic because...
I like Metacritic because it's just a tool. It's a tool in a variety of tools that a consumer can use to make their decision. And it's got all these other reviews. And just take a few. Just take a few sample reviews. Take some from the top of Metacritic, some from the bottom of the list, a couple in the middle. Just get a sense of what the game's like and whether it appeals to you as a person. Your enjoyment is not impacted by whether or not a reviewer enjoyed it or not. But, you know, I've said that so many times over the years that I bore myself. And it's like,
I know, but they don't know it yet. I feel like I gotta repackage the message somehow, or, I don't know, just meet them personally, hold them, and try to, cuddle them through the problem they're having, because they're so upset. Just reams and reams of comments reaming us out for just liking or not liking a video game. I never thought that would happen.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, I don't quite get it. Like, if I got upset when people bash my favourite games, I would be in a corner crying every time a Dynasty Warriors comes out, you know? It's like, I'm one of the few people that like that series, and that doesn't matter. Like, I kind of like that. It's like, it's kind of cool to have a game that you like that a lot of other people sort of don't. It makes you a unique individual.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel they've got to march in step with absolutely everybody else. It's like, just own your own likes, you know? Be pleased with what you like and don't give a fuck about what other people think. And read reviews just to get a good idea of what the game's like and whether you agree with the reviewer or not. It shouldn't matter so long as you're using it in some productive way rather than just bitching and moaning.
Right, and needing it to fit some standard. That's my only problem with Metacritic, is when people use it, be like, well, everyone else gave it a 7, why'd you give it a 6?
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes me sad. That happened with Dead Rising Chop Till You Drop, which I still like. It's been out for like 3 years. I still play it.
Yeah.
It's actually fun.
Speaking of reviews, was El Shaddai on your Best of E3 list?
Uh-huh.
Did you want to review El Shaddai?
Whoa.
That's the email that threw me off. I dare not touch it. Because,
I didn't know about that email. I'll have to look for it.
Yeah.
I didn't see
it was just sent to me. He wanted to know if it was on... Nick wanted to know if it was on your list. This is us talking shop, by the way, listeners. We've ignored you for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to review it.
All right, I'll get that arranged for you. Cool. Okay, let's move on. It was Sonic's birthday this week.
Yeah.
Good on him.
I feel so weird about Sonic. I was thinking about him for like an hour, which is a little inappropriate, but why did they do that to him? You know what I mean? Do you ever think about it that way? Like, you think about Sonic on the Genesis, and you're like, whoa, they nailed it. And then you think about everything else, and you're like, why do they wanted to add rock songs? They wanted to add, like, realistic kissing and realistic shamus and what? Like, they crafted this perfectly good, unique video game universe that has its own aesthetic. It's, I'd say, in terms of a lot of iconic music and iconic visuals, it's right up there with Mario. It's definitely got its own feel that people are attracted to playing the games just to get that feel again. And they don't return to that until Sonic Generations. It's so weird.
Yeah. And I played the Sonic Generations demo thrice in a row when it came out, because I love the 2D stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the music and the sound effects and everything is just back. It feels really good.
I mean, the physics are good. I mean, I had no problem with the physics in Sonic 4, but these ones are just even better. And it's just really interesting. It was almost weird to not have a homing attack anymore. It was like, I'm actually employing a little bit of skill to jump on these enemies' heads. And it feels great. And the music is awesome, the visuals are gorgeous, the gameplay is solid, and they've got that whole, they're not just making Sonic super fast, so you press the right button to win. The speed is more of a reward, like it always used to be. And I finished the demo, I sat there, and I just wanted to, phone someone up. Just phone up Izuki or someone, and just be like, was that so fucking hard? Really?
Exactly. I remember it was in 2007, I said to Nero, why don't they just bring the checkerboard back? Like, that alone, just the checkerboard aesthetic to the stuff you're running on. I think this is around when Sonic Unleashed was coming out, and people were freaking out. They're like, there's actual 2D levels. As if it's such a revelation to them that people like 2D Sonic. But, I feel like Sonic, I don't know if you had a friend like this growing up, but there'd be a guy who was known for one thing. He was popular with girls because he has long hair, or maybe it was a foreign guy, everyone likes him because he's got a Russian accent or something. So then you try to plug him into everything you are working on that you want to be popular. So if you're starting a band, you just give them a tambourine, or okay, now you're in my band. People will listen to me sing because you're there. I feel like they wanted to make 3D platformers and really terrible rock and roll songs, but they didn't have a way to sell them. So they just grabbed Sonic and threw him into all those games they made for those 10 years. I
may have said this in the Unleashed review, I'm not sure. I said it somewhere, but I actually said I get this feeling that Sonic Team wishes it was Square Enix. They wish they were making anything other than Sonic games. You look at Sonic 2006, and all this stuff with Silver the Hedgehog who's talking about the Iblis trigger. Oh my god. And these big sort of Final Fantasy-esque demons and things coming out, and
Yeah.
this anime princess character, and I'm like, this is fucking Final Fantasy that they wish they could... This is the Final Fantasy game they wish they could make, and they just had to put Sonic into it, because that's what Sega's telling them to do, because Sega is like, make us more Sonic games. So they try and fit Sonic into what they're doing, and now that they're letting Sonic be more and more what he used to be, they're starting to slowly bring it back. Sonic 4 was very good. I thought Sonic Colors on the DS was good. I didn't so much like the Wii one. But, I mean, and this generation stuff, at least the 2D portion is awesome. I wasn't wowed when I played the 3D stuff. I think that's going to be... I think there's going to be some good levels, but I think it's going to be very hit and miss, which those 3D ones always are. It's like every Sonic game has managed to have one or two really good levels, and then it just all goes to fuckery, because that kind of gameplay is just really hard to make. It's hard to make a game that fast, and yet add challenge to it, and the challenge often comes as the cheap variety, because there's no other way to design it. So they'll make you just a ludicrously fast hedgehog on a really thin platform with no walls, so you're constantly falling off the fucking thing. It's like, was that so hard? And I was thinking about this as well. I was like, this is awesome. I would pay $60 for a whole game that was just a 2D platformer. If it looked this good and had a long enough campaign in it, I'd buy that. When did it stop being cool? Why did the advent of 3D graphics mean that 2D platformers couldn't be made anymore? And they only ever appear on, say, the DS or even the PSP sometimes. It's like, I'd pay nowadays for an HD 2D platformer on the 360 or the PS3.
Oh, sure. Well, the Super Mario Wii there sold 15 million units. And that speaks to a whole other issue where I feel like Nintendo, as they're perceived by other developers, are like, well, Nintendo can get away with that, but we can't. No, you totally could if you just did.
Yeah.
But for some reason, people think Nintendo has some sort of magic, which they don't. They just take a different kind of risks.
It just seems these days that if anyone wants to do a 2D platformer, it's like, relegate that shit to handhelds and PSA and XBLA WiiWare. Don't dare release it as a retail thing. It's like, I reckon it'd sell. At least Sonic. Like, Sonic can sell the kind of shit like Sonic and the Secret Rings to 6-year-olds.
Yeah, that's like
no matter
1 million
what
copies or something. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Donkey Kong Country sold really well. Kirby's Epic Yarn, I think, broke 1 million. I don't know. I think people just... maybe they don't want to do it. Maybe they just don't like making 2D games over at Sega.
I don't see why. It's like, you do a 2D game, it's going to be a little bit easier to make. And it's going to be easier to make a game that works, because 2D is like, that's one of the oldest methods, like one of the oldest sort of gameplay genres, 2D platform, that's been around since games were first able to have more than 2 colours in them. Yeah. And you could pack so much more content in and make such an epic game as a 2D platformer, and you can probably do more ambitious stuff with that than you can with a game that has to be in 3D with, like, Final Fantasy 13 style graphics, because that's where all your resources have gone, on crafting these huge 3D worlds. Giving a 2D platformer, you can probably do a lot more with it, and I think it's silly to think that you can't make games like that anymore.
Yeah. I'm remembering that, at least back in the PlayStation 1 era, Sony was actively telling developers they didn't want them to make any 2D games for the PlayStation. I wonder if that stuff still goes on behind the scenes. Like, they had a really hard time, Capcom had a really hard time putting out Mega Man X4 and Mega Man 8 on the PlayStation. Originally, they were just on the Saturn, because Sony was like, we don't want any of that. That's old. People are going to think our system is for old people or boring people or something that don't know how awesome polygons are, so they... almost ditched him. Yeah, I wonder.
I mean, I understand that back in the day when they were trying to push 3D graphics as their big difference maker. I mean, I kind of get that, but nowadays, I mean, retro's cool for a start. People fucking love that old shit.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I wish Sonic Generations was just that 2D stuff.
Me too.
It would be fucking awesome. And the 3D stuff... I mean, they're trying to appeal to 2 different demographics with 2 different styles of gameplay, but that just means you've got 50% of a game that's going to work for your audience.
Right, no matter what. It's going to only please half the people, half the amount. I almost said that right. Oh, I failed. That was my one chance to sound clever. Oh, it sucks. Oh, well.
I mean, what they've done essentially is they've pulled a King Solomon, and they've just cut the game in half and said have half each. And,
right.
And I don't think that's... I mean, we'll see. It's just...
If they had more confidence in their product, or if they were doing something they really wanted to do 100%, I imagine they wouldn't do that, but I'll probably still end up buying it, just for, as long as there's enough of the 2D content in there, I'll just suffer through the 3D stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think the 3D stuff is always bad. I mean, there was a level in Sonic Unleashed that was fantastic, but there's not enough of it. And at E3, I watched Izuki, I think it's Izuki or Izuka, I'm really sorry, that sounds racist and bad, so I can't remember the guy's name. But, he was the producer on it. He'd probably demoed that game a dozen times that day, and he got stuck several times playing City Escape, the level they were showing off. The 3D portion, like, he didn't know what to do. He was bumping into walls and falling off of platforms, because the 3D stuff is just, it doesn't work right. Sonic doesn't feel right in that environment and I'm not saying that from an emotional point. I mean, the actual character as you control it, there's something fucked up there.
And has been for a long time, I think.
I mean, he controls essentially like a car, not like a platforming character. So when you have to slow down and you have to like navigate something, it just doesn't work. It is like making a forklift truck do platforming. And then it's not so good. But happy birthday anyway, Sonic.
I'm suddenly remembering I was buying a coffee, and the clerk was like, it looked like it was a woman, but it was actually just a young man who was tall, but very, like, I don't want to say feminine looking, but just like very baby looking. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
And he seemed nice, and he gave me a coffee. Then the guy that came in after me was like, "Hey, what's your name, Jeffrey?" And the kid was like, No, it's Zach. He's like, "Zach, really? Tell me more about your name." So weird. He's like, is your full name Zachariah or Zachary? Or is it just Zach? Tell me all about it. Do you think I was a pedophile?
Wow. Maybe a pedophile, like, trying to cheat the system.
Well, it was right out
it's an adult, but he's...
Well, it wasn't adult. No, this was like a high-pitched boy with a boyish face. Oh, I see. Buck the system. Like, you look like a boy, but you're 18, so it's like...
Yeah, but it's all legal. It's like, the fuzz can't touch me. Make sure you got your driving license, kid. That does sound odd.
Yeah, that creeped me out. I just wanted to run that by you. Thanks.
Oh, don't mention it. That's a handy break, though, so we can talk about some other stuff.
Sure.
I know you were very interested in the story that some guys on IGN's forums have started up what seems to be it seems to have been embraced, and we posted about it on Destructoid this morning. There's a whole letter-writing campaign now, because people are sick of Nintendo of America not localizing The Last Story, and Xenoblade, and Pandora's Tower, which are three very good-looking Japanese Wii games that Nintendo just isn't putting out, while the Wii completely stagnates.
Yeah, I know. It's insane, isn't it? I had a great time at E3 this year. I thought Nintendo did some really good stuff, but just the simplest kind of a given announcements, things I thought were obviously going to happen, because why wouldn't they? The announcement of the very popular in Japan. I heard Last Story actually sold well enough for them to call it a success and for Sakaguchi to keep working. They didn't announce that. They didn't announce Xenoblade, which was actually shown at E3 2 years ago. They didn't announce Pandora's Tower, which Nintendo was promoting in kind of a stealthy way, but, definitely showing some attention to it all year, at least in Japan. And I actually asked a Nintendo representative about that, and he said, what are those games? I'm like, you haven't heard of them? They're, kind of a big deal. Nintendo's Wii fan base, which they're pretty passionate, the ones that have stuck around with the Wii. They really want these games. He's like, I'll look into it, but I've actually never heard of The Last Story.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
No, it wasn't too encouraging. I don't know. What are they thinking, Jim? You understand people. What are they doing? Why wouldn't Nintendo want to bring out... I mean, it's not like they wouldn't make some money, and even if they didn't make millions and millions, just to keep their reputation for being, moving towards being inclusive to the hardcore gamer, which was what the whole Wii U speech was about, is like, this is about you, the hardcore gamer, as well as the Wii gamer. If they want to back that up at all, wouldn't they actually put out games that the hardcore gamer wants to play?
Well, I mean, for a start, I will say this. Don't believe any bullshit when a company tells you, oh, it's too expensive for us to localize. Because, what is it Atlas does? The company that's several infinite times smaller than Nintendo, doesn't have half the resources and cash, and makes an entire fucking living off fucking localizing games that are
that almost nobody wants.
Yeah,
9 hours,
story.
9 persons, 9 doors.
Yeah, Demon Souls,
yeah,
Dark Souls. Oh no, that's not Dark Souls. Dark Crusade.
Oh yeah,
These
3D
games,
Dot Heroes.
Yeah, 3D Dot Heroes. It's bullshit, and I can't name names. But someone like unrelated to either company was like, they let me know that it's not that hard. Mm-hmm. It's really not that hard. Like, it takes some time, sure, and it will take some money, but it's not to the point where, especially a company like Nintendo, can't afford to take the gamble. And there's I would imagine, if they ship it right, if they control the amount they produce and ship, there's no way they couldn't not make a success out of it. Demon Souls was a huge success, even though it wasn't like a major blockbuster, but in relative terms, in terms of how much they actually produced and how they couldn't meet demand because they were conservative with what they made, it was a big success for Atlas.
I remember they sold like 100,000 copies, I think, in the first month, and they were overjoyed. Yeah. They couldn't believe how much of a success they considered that to be.
It's like you said with No More Heroes. Okay, it sold like 500,000, which compared to Gears of War or Call of Duty is nothing, but because they were wise with the amount they made and because their expectations were set realistically, they were over the moon with it. And Nintendo can do that more easily than any other publisher. The amount of fucking profit those guys make. Yeah. It's like, get it localized, ship it wisely. Nintendo are masters at shipping a game under demand.
Sure.
Put out a limited version, you will make your money back. Fucking make a limited edition. Give us a Last Story limited edition, $60 or $70. People will buy it. Enough will buy it to make up for the money you spent translating and localizing.
And even if they didn't make money, just to work on their rep, which is still, people thought the Wii U would build up their reputation, but people are so skeptical about the Wii U just because it's called the Wii U. It's just a name that sounds like it's not targeting people who actually like video games. It still sounds like they're targeting everybody else but video game fans. And that's terrible for their reputation. I think that could hurt them, especially if they're trying to target hardcore video game fans. Just for their rep, to be like, we brought out those games you guys were asking for. We're not total douchebags. Yeah. Even if no one bought it, it would just make them look a little bit less like they don't care.
And I think you're right, they do need to harbour that, because I make David Jaffe right when he said that the Wii may have sold a lot to a lot of non-gamers, but I don't think it turned that many non-gamers into gamers.
Oh, I don't think so. Not at all.
It turned them into Wii owners. And they love their Wii, but I don't know if they're going to spend however much it'll cost for a Wii U, because the graphics are nicer and it's got an iPad. And I think I said this on the Podtoid that didn't get recorded. Like,
yeah, you did.
They'll say, well, I've already got a Wii, and I've got an iPad, I don't need a Wii with an iPad. And I'm not saying that's what it is, but it's what it's going to look like to the casual observer.
Oh, sure.
And Jimmy Fallon can have it on his show and be like, oh, this is so cool, but I think a lot of people are just going to see, well, it looks like a fucking smartphone or an iPad or a tablet. It's like, I've got that shit. And I think the guys they want to really impress are the people that are buying games, the actual gamers out there. And I'm not saying that like an entitled oh, they abandoned the hardcore gamer. I'm just saying it's just a fucking good investment. Make sure you keep the audience that you know is always going to be there. It's just sense.
Right. And it's weird. Nintendo Europe isn't as bad. They're actually bringing out Xenoblade, I just read. But they said, stop me if you know this already, that they didn't get to say that at E3 because Nintendo of America runs E3, and Nintendo of America didn't want them to talk about games that Nintendo of America wasn't planning on bringing out because they didn't want confusion. So they actually had to silence an announcement that would have at least made Europeans happy in order to keep Americans from getting confused. Does this sound like a good company to you? I'm saying this out loud.
I mean, yeah, Nintendo of America are just, wow.
I like a lot of them as people, but and it's frustrating. I meet so many people who are like low level in the company who think just like us and are like, oh yeah, I'd love Super Smash Bros. Brawl to have downloadable characters. That would be great, and I'd love us to work on their netcode, and they're really passionate about it. Then I find out the next year that they were fired. Yeah, moment of silence.
And it's sad.
Yeah.
I don't understand them. But then this is the company that thinks that after 2 months of having nothing on the eShop, what we really want is tennis. Fucking tennis, ladies and gentlemen.
Black and white tennis.
Yeah.
Of all things. Yeah, completely unenhanced Game Boy tennis for like $4.
Like, the week of Sonic's fucking birthday, and we don't get Sonic on the Game Gear. It's like, that would have been perfect. No, I think what you really want is tennis. Yeah, we'll put tennis on. Yeah, everyone likes tennis. Fuck it, I'm not saying tennis is a bad game. I'm just saying that after 2 months of having nothing on the eShop, or even having an eShop, I don't want fucking tennis as the third week's offering of their one virtual console game they're going to put out a week forever.
And you know, Japan got Double Dragon. Not that that's amazing, but that's at least like a video game that some people have some attachment to. Is anyone like attached to Game Boy Tennis? Wants to relive the black and white hitting of a ball? And
a few people got upset that I just said.
Of course they did.
Of course they did.
Well,
Yeah.
that's you. Not to blame you, but people will take any excuse to get mad at you if they can. I mean,
Yeah.
people get mad at you at least once, right? Yeah, it's not fair, but it's
Oh,
true.
well, tennis, idiot. And all the while, the Wii is sat there, and I know it's so gauche and trite to say, oh, the Wii's gathering dust, but what if it's true? You know?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think some people actually think I'm an anti-Wii douchebag. I don't know if you knew that. But every once in a while I'll say something like, oh, this game probably should have come out for the Wii, or, you know, the Wii could have played back DVDs, but they took out that functionality for some reason. That was stupid. People will get really mad at me. But on the whole, I'm known as a Wii fanboy, and even I've played some old games, old virtual console games, and that's about it. It's just, this year is dead for the Wii until Skyward Sword comes out and Rhythm Heaven comes out.
It's like they could have at least closed that gap and at least kept Wii software in the marketplace.
Yeah.
By having these localized games come out.
And keep it in the mindset, just to have a press release, like new Wii game came out, people remember the Wii is around, but this year, it's dead.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting so sad just thinking about it.
I mean, okay, they've got the Wii U coming, but that's like spring 2012. There's the rest of 2011 to play for, mate. It's ridiculous.
1 or 2 games won't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, Skyward Sword is good, but that's one game.
One game at the end of the year. I'm looking forward to it, but I've got no reason to turn my Wii on. And I'm not joking. My Wii has lots of dust on it. I really should be more vigilant about polishing and dusting around my house. But that's the fact. It's sat there doing nothing for... When was the last time I played it? May have been...
Did you start fapping? It sounded like you started violently fapping.
I wish. I think it may have been Kirby's Epic Yarn. It's the last time I fucking played it. November last year.
Yeah, that's right. Wow. I'm looking forward to the Bit Trip compilation in September. That'll be good. That's only 4 months away for a compilation of games I already own.
Nintendo's back.
I'll import Xenoblade when that comes out, though, for sure. So I'll at least import some games from other countries that I wish I was allowed to play. Wow, let's be happy. Let's talk about fun things that make us feel good inside.
We can do
I feel sad now.
We can do some user questions, listener questions.
Those will make me feel good.
Some of you guys asked questions to Tara and Max. Obviously, we can't do those this week. I apologise. If you really must know whether Max Scoville bedazzled his Duke Nukem Forever belt buckle, thank you, Epic. You can ask next week. Actually, he did answer it on the Podtoid we lost, and he said he didn't bedazzle it, so there's your answer.
Oh, and then that went into stuff that was really good, like bedazzling his ass and stuff, and I think we talked about it for a while, and I really miss Max. I'm sorry, everyone listening that's like, oh, it's going to be a funny episode of Podtoid, and it's just Jim being funny and me getting depressed about the Wii not being back this year. Not much of a showman this week.
I think Max got glitter glue and wrote Max on a pair of underpants or something.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And I thought of the Mormons and their magic underwear. Do you know about them?
Well, I know of the Mormons, but actually some knocked on my door the other day.
Oh, yeah?
And they were like, hey, we'd like to talk to you about Jesus and what do you believe in? And I'm like, well, I'm an atheist. And they looked confused and were like, we don't get too many of them around here. Why is that? And I said, well, I believe in evidence and all that kind of thing. And I said, well, we've got some evidence for you right here. And they gave me the Book of Mormon, so I got a free book out of it.
Oh, cool. It's a pretty funny book.
I'm looking forward to it. We read a little bit of it. It sounded just like gay erotica, which I'm all for, so I'm really looking forward to reading it. But it didn't sound particularly religious in that sense.
Well, it's not until they get to I think they reach into a hat and find gold, and there's a talking, some sort of talking animal. I think a fox or something. It's pretty neat. Yeah, and their underwear is blessed and can protect them from fire and sword play and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool underwear.
Just so typical of a religion invented in America. It's I don't like to stereotype Americans. I live in America. I love the country, but magic blessed pants. It's perfect.
Yeah, it is pretty perfect. And Jesus was American, as it turns out. You'll learn in the Book of Mormon.
Of course he was.
Yeah, secret American.
Yeah, why wouldn't he be? Okay, let's have a question from Epic KX Detoid, who said, Holmes, Street Fighter Cross, isn't it?
Oh, Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Well, it's not your fault. They happen to spell it Street Fighter.
Yeah.
So.
Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which characters would you like to see in it?
Oh, I remember this question. I answered it last time, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll try to do a better job this time. I would like to see as many obscure characters as possible because that's what I want out of a Street Fighter game. I don't need the same characters that I already have in Street Fighter 4 because I can play that if I want to play with them. So I'd like to see Karen from Street Fighter Alpha 3. I'd like to see Guy from Final Fight, who's in Street Fighter 4, but I like him. And more Street Fighter 3 characters like Q and who's that guy with the hair there? Remy. Yeah, I'd like to see Remy, just for lulz, because he's funny. Do you know about Remy?
I remember the name.
Tight pants, giant shoes, long blue hair. People hate him because he's very feminine, but he's pretty awesome.
They're my favorite characters.
I know, me too. I like those hard dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming with a leather jacket and just take me on. And you know that the guy they're fighting is totally uncomfortable, but that's all part of the plan. Just
perfect tactic. Absolutely.
Yeah. I try to use homophobia.
Their homophobia.
Exactly. I do that all the time. You should see some of the stuff I've done to guys who want to beat me up. Where do you want to put your hands? Oh. Okay. Yeah.
Careful doing that in the wrong part of town. That will just make it worse.
That's true. In art school, it was a little. I definitely rolled the dice a few times, but so far unscathed. Anal virgin.
That actually wasn't my intent. That wasn't my implication.
Oh, okay.
I was talking about gay bashers who will just be.
Oh no!
But you made me sound like I just implied all gay people are rapists.
They're not, but most of my friends who are attracted to men have said, "You're probably attracted to me." I'm like, "I'm not, though." They're like, "Come on, you probably are. Why don't you just be a little attracted to me?" It's very flattering. But no, I can't be gay. I've tried. I can't do it. Anyway, next question.
Have I got the right question thread?
I don't know.
I got the wrong question thread. Oh no!
That's okay.
Asking questions from 1 billion years ago.
Yeah, I thought I answered that on the actual show.
Yeah.
Maybe I answered it better this time.
This is bad. Hold on. I've got the tag up. Podtoid questions. Here we go. Oh, we're actually here now. When it loads. Lol.
Yeah.
Podtoid.
It's doing it.
Yeah. Hamza Aziz asked, now we can't do this now, but we did it on the show. Hamza Aziz asked, can Jim and Max pretend like they're making out? The world wants to know what the two of them kissing would sound like. It was good. There was a lot of...
short. It was long.
Yeah, it went on for a very long time. Max was making noises like, it hurts, you're scratching me, and I was going, like that. It was pretty damn good. That was alright.
Should we do that sexy calendar? People want us to do a sexy calendar.
No one wants to do a sexy calendar.
I'll do it.
You
should do it, I think.
I don't feel beautiful. I don't feel fancy.
Oh, come on. You're well loved.
I'm especially bad at the moment because I've been having this puffy eyelid. I don't know. I think I slept on it wrong or something. I got an allergic reaction. So it's not like I look like I've had a stroke, but I actually haven't.
I'm worried about you. You're sure you're okay? You have health insurance and stuff?
I think it's just a little allergy or something. It's gone down a lot now, but at the moment, because I've got a droopy eye and I'm fat, I look like both chunk and sloth. It's fucking dreadful. It's like, I'm already fat, don't make me like sloth as well.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. We're not always at our best, but I think with the right photographer and the right outfit, it could be good. I'm just saying that. Think about it. You don't want to do it
I'll do like one of those tropical singers who have like bananas and pineapple hats. And
for some reason I wanted us to start a band. Did I tell you that?
No. I
suddenly thought, because I can sing low, and you can sing actually quite well. We should start singing together sometime.
Alright, it's done. Me and Chad and Jesse Cortez, when we were at the Sonic anniversary party, the Sonic Boom event, look it up on YouTube, It's a scream. We actually decided we wanted to do a Sonic cover band. And do all of those Crush 40 songs, all of the 7 rings in hand and all this shit, and call ourselves Sonic and the Booms. And
yeah, that's right.
It would have been so magical. We might still do that. We might try and get hold of some backing tracks and get it done.
Well, if I can help with that, let me know.
Absolutely. Well, you'll be the 4th member of Sonic and the Booms. Let's have a question. Rush says... he asked do you think Shadows of the Damned will live up to No More Heroes and Killer 7, but we kind of already answered that. He did add, would you like to see a Killer 7 sequel?
I don't think Suda wants to do it. I get the sense, and this relates to the dick jokes, you know how there's a little bit too many dick jokes. I think he really wants his games to actually be popular and to have a universal appeal these days. I think he's sick of just being that cult guy who some people really love, but for the most part, he doesn't have any budget for his games because they don't make enough money. Yeah. I think he's done with a Killer 7 type thing because that game was so inaccessible. The people who like it love it.
Fucking amazing game. I love it.
It's a great game, but man, there's just the gameplay alone. It's like an on-rails shooter that doesn't actually... it's an on-rails running around a building, and then it stops and turns into a static on-rails shooter.
Yeah.
People do not want to pay $60 for that.
It took me a long time to get into it, and once I did, couldn't stop loving it. But I think it's best as its own thing. It's like people ask me if I want to see a Deadly Premonition sequel. It's like, I'd like to see Agent York again, but I don't want him to be in Deadly Premonition 2. The game works best as an anomaly, as its one self-contained experience, and Killer 7 is like that. That said, stick it on the PS3 with PS Move support, and I will buy it again.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'd buy it on the Wii again, too. Anything with pointer controls. I've been saying that to Capcom for years, and they just look at me like I have two heads, because that game sold like 10,000 copies, and they want to forget that it ever existed. But yeah, I want Suda to succeed, and I think he wants to succeed, too, which is why I don't think we'll see more Killer 7, unless it's just download for $10 or so. We did good. We answered that good.
We did well, yeah. Brian Green. I mean, these are all like multiple questions that they've asked, like specific editors. But I'm just going to open them up just to the pair of us, because why not?
Sure.
Brian Green asks, and I'm actually I want to ask this because I want to hear your answer. He says, if you could fuck anyone in the world, who would it be?
He didn't ask me that. He wanted to know what my race was, I think.
Oh, this guy made like 50 posts in this thread, all of them weird. One of them was like, what the hell, was it, God damn, Jonathan Holmes, what the hell is your ethnicity? That's it, it's here. Holmes, what, I'll read the full thing because it's golden. It's, forgot Holmes, because he's only there like a third of the goddamn time, Holmes. What fucking ethnicity are you? Holy shit, heart symbol.
Aw, that's great. You know, I always wondered what kind of people would pay attention to me, and this is the kind that does. Brian Green knows I exist, and he really wants to know about me as a person. Thank you, Brian. So who would I have sex with? Jigglypuff. Really? How novel would that be? And especially if it liked it. You know, I wouldn't want it to be bad sex, like really good sex with Jigglypuff. The way it would react would be priceless.
I can't top that. I think for me it would be that bloke from the Snakes in a Plane music video with the long hair.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Can't remember his name, but he'd fucking get it. So that's my choice. At least as far as real people go. If we're going to do Pokemon, then Ekans, of course.
People still come up to me. They've seen my face on Destructoid. They have no idea who I am. They're like, tell the Ekans guy, he's awesome. Ekans guy. Like, isn't that... It's up to like 30,000 or 40,000 views or something.
I think it's like 45,000 at last count. Something, you know, it's nice. It was.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's cool. Who's E3 Shannon? Because Onyx Leo wants to know whether you got E3 Shannon's number.
Oh, yeah. I was actually just exchanging emails with her. She is kind of the breakout star of the video coverage that I did anyway at E3. She works for Nintendo, and people just like completely fell in love with her.
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember now, yes.
Yeah, she's great. She may not be allowed by Nintendo PR, who is pretty controlling, to do more stuff with Podtoid that's kind of separate from general event coverage, but she's really motivated. Like, I asked her if she would be on a live stream. She's like, absolutely. Like, do you want to do like a weekly roundup of the Nintendo download games via video? She's like, oh, I'd love to do that. Then I asked her, will you be my sidekick on a animated talk show where I talk to video game characters? Oh my god, I'll help with the animation if you want. Like, just completely excited about talking about video games and being involved with video for Podtoid in any way she can. So if she can do it, she'll do it. She's great.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Here's an interesting one. Noir says, since you're enjoying Shadows of the Damned, if you could include a new enemy in the game, what would it be? He wants us to think of something crazy like the "fuck you" demon. And he wants to see if we can see if I can talk normally. He wants to see if we can match Suda51's madness in terms of monster design. This is a big challenge.
Alright, I'll start so you can think for a little bit. I would want an Inside-Out alligator whose teeth have little eyeballs on them that shoot lasers, and it farts fire and like rockets across with a shit fart at you with its eyeball laser teeth. And it's going like, ooh, 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 like slightly sexual, like make you feel a little bit like it's attracted to you, but it's not. Yeah, like Birdo-ish, like an inside-out alligator with Birdo's personality whose eyeballs shoot eye lasers. No, teeth shoot eye lasers, yeah. Rocket farts.
Okay, let's see. I would have Lung Lobster.
What? Long Lobster?
Lung Lobster, okay.
Lung Lobster.
It's a lobster with a giant lung on its back that, like, it contracts in and out, and every time it squeezes in, it pushes out screams that have been cooled in the air to form, like, a gas that,
Whoa.
like, hurts, like, does damage. So it's this constant screaming lung. It's just, ah! 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 Like that. And it's just, like, the screams are, like, rendered as this poisonous cloud. And on the lobster's legs, like, it's got human heads skewered onto its spindly legs, so that every time it walks, every time it stamps its foot down, it smashes the head into the ground and the head starts screaming as well.
Whoa, that's great. How big is it?
Like, as big as 5 cars.
That would be an awesome boss, Lung Lobster. I think I like that more than my alligator idea.
I think they're both equally good, and Suda should hire us.
Yeah, he might listen to this podcast. I talked to him and stuff. He seemed to like me a little bit.
I think we've proven there and there, then and then. I've lost it already. Fucking Friday night.
This is great because you're always so you're intimidatingly on, Jim Sterling. People cannot keep up with you, speaking from personal experience. But I almost feel like I'm half as entertaining as you this week. This is great.
What were we talking about? Okay. Handy says, what's your favourite guilty pleasure... Oh, hiccups again now, Jesus. What's your favourite guilty pleasure game? Something that's not very interesting that you enjoy? Cough, Dynasty Warriors, cough. Ha ha, Handy, you're funny! Or something everybody hates that you somehow find joy in?
Oh, easy. Dead Rising Chop Till You Drop. That's a fun game! If you like the Resident Evil 4 gameplay on the Wii, then you should just buy it, because it's just Resident Evil 4 without as much gameplay variety and way worse graphics, but you just kill stuff with that game engine for 12 hours straight, with a bunch of different melee weapons, which are actually a lot of fun. The only thing that sucks are the bosses are too easy, but I don't know. I've converted a few people to that game who initially thought that it sucked because it's so different from Dead Rising on a 360, and it's obviously got fewer zombies and way worse graphics. But as a totally different game, it's really a lot of fun. I mean it.
I mean, I know it... I can't really say guilty pleasure because I don't feel guilty about liking anything, and I'm usually very shameless in my likes. I guess you could say Blood Rain, even though, again, I've got no real shame about it, but I do like Blood Rain, even though it is, by and large, not a good game. It's just fun in an incredibly dumb and stupid way. And
the concept, and the audacity, that they're not being tongue-in-cheek at all, and yet it seems like a parody. I like Blood Rain. Yeah.
It's got an energy to it, and it's a vampire, like, sucking the blood of demon Nazis. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, and the new one, the Way Forward one, seems pretty legit. If you want more action-based 2D Castlevania, it's legit. It's good stuff.
Absolutely. Way Forwards do good work. I think everyone sort of agrees.
Pretty consistently. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to ask like one or two more, and then we can be done, and I can have a sleep now.
Okay.
Will Podtoid start giving big reviews to other people and stop letting Jim shit all over anticipated game for page views? Fuck off! NPA says, why do you keep skipping my fucking questions? Do I smell or something? We discussed this guy before. He's called NPA 189, which isn't an interesting name.
Oh, it's not only that it's not interesting, it's like unencodable. Like, I already forgot it. You just said it seconds ago.
I'm looking at it right now, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you just can't do that.
Yeah.
I think I can go out on a limb to say if he were to email us, we could make a special exception and try to change his profile name.
The thing is I noticed him now because he's got an 8-bit Goomba avatar. So if you ever want to get our attention, just have 8-bit Goomba avatar, and I'll read it.
Yeah, and call yourself 8-bit Goomba avatar, and I'll totally notice that you exist, but just numbers and letters next to each other, I can't encode it. My brain won't look at it.
Yeah. But he asks, what do you plan on playing for your summer backlog?
There is no summer backlog. I'm so excited about, like, every single week there's an awesome game coming out. Like, just next week, Resident Evil Mercenaries 3D is coming out. I'm probably just going to have finished Shadow to the Damned by the time that comes out, so it's going to be a seamless jump to a relatively similar game in terms of gameplay, but in terms of what platform it's on and where I can play it and the overall experience, it's going to be pretty different. So I'll be into that, and then Star Fox 64 is coming out, and Super Mario is coming out, and Kid Icarus is coming out, and El Shaddai is coming out, and the list goes on. There's really not going to be any stopping for me, I don't think. And for you, there's never any stopping for you, is there?
No, because, as I say, Destructoid lets me shit all over anticipated games for page views, so I'm going to be doing that all summer, really. Kim Icario said that as well, prick. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
I can't believe they think that a negative review, it'll get more comments.
It'll get more comments,
but it does not get more page views.
No. Many of our positive reviews I put this in the review guide under the myth section. Mm-hmm. We run the risk of losing advertising money when we run negative reviews, and our reviews are so popular, and I'm going to be fucking smug about it. Destructo's reviews are so popular, we don't need to shit over anticipated games for page views. We do not need to do that. And if we did, I'd do it to things like Killzone and Portal and these games that would really cause a fucking stir.
Right.
When I do something like Assassin's Creed, I don't expect as many people to care as did. I have more respect for human beings than that. That they let me down on that regard is something else entirely, but,
Isn't it weird how quickly people get attached to Assassin's Creed? Like, sorry, Assassin's Creed's fan, but it's a pretty bland, just like, oh, history, yeah. Some guys used to walk around and stab each other now and again. It's not, like, that emotionally involving, is it? Or am I missing something?
I think it's because Ubisoft told them it was emotionally involving.
Oh,
so now they believe it.
That attractive woman, too. People really loved her.
The lady.
Yeah, haven't seen her in a while.
She's dead. Allegedly. She's not dead. Don't we know?
No.
She might be by now. I don't know.
It's true.
By the time this comes out, like, I guess Saturday morning or whatever, I'm not going to know whether she's dead or not.
Seriously, though, she's not in the public light at all anymore, is she?
I think she's been doing stuff with that I Am Alive that's never going to come out.
Right. I think we made fun of that, like, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And tried to think of stupider names than I Am Alive. Like, what more obvious statement can you make and title your game? Like, I Have a Hand or something. Of course you do.
Yeah.
Anyway. Moving on. Sorry about that.
Well, I think that'll do.
Oh, that's good.
I was only going to do like a little half-hour podcast, but they've gotten a full fucking lot out of us.
Well, we do. Tara and Max are great, but we really talk about video games. We have problems. Yeah, we weren't being funny. We were really overly passionate about video games for, what has this been, like an hour and a half?
Almost. I mean, we've been talking for an hour and 20, according to Skype. The podcast will probably be a little bit shorter, but...
Sure.
Yeah, we did all right.
I think so. Yeah, good tit for tat there.
Yeah. Oh, they better, like, it's fucking free. Give me some money so I can buy new microphones so I can do Jimquisitions that don't sound like shit.
Yeah, I should send you a microphone. I have one lying around somewhere. Probably wouldn't get to you by Monday, though.
Yeah, I'll probably have to pick up a cheap one just for tomorrow. As I said, I mean, the episode I filmed sounded like shit, and for the Jimquisition, that is bad. That is like, because I said it sounded like fucking ass, and I said by Jimquisition standards, that means it is not just fucking ass, it is one big ass shitting out smaller asses that are being fucked. So
that would have been a good shout out to the Damned Enemy too.
Yes, there you go. See, hire us at Grasshopper Manufacture, please. Thanks. Okay, that's enough. Thank you all for listening. As always, please, subscribe on iTunes, because that always helps us out. Nice to have, nice for our statistics. Tell your friends, amuse your enemies with Podtoid. You can catch me and Jonathan Holmes at Destructoid.com pretty much every day. Max and Tara, who are not with us but will usually be with us every week, they do the Destructoid show on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. You can check that out. It's a good little show. And that's it. Well, I guess we'll see you Wednesday, hopefully, if it records.
I had a lot of fun, Jim. Thanks.
That's alright.
Yeah, we're both ready for bed.
Yeah.
Fridays.